We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded in sleep. It's getting dark. I should head home. Just a couple of small jumps. No problem. Just drop down here. Papa, I'm back!
Thank God you're home, Clara. Come inside. Hurry.
What's wrong?
The whole town has gone mad. Father Logan is gathering men. He's convinced them the storm is God's punishment.
So? I don't understand. He couldn't possibly blame a bookseller for the weather.
Clara, my dear, listen. There's some... Hurry! The cellar!
Pathamore, open up! You think you can hide your secret from me?
I have no secrets.
Oh no? Then explain this. Cleanse this place. There is nothing but corruption here. Wait, what?
I can hear the people now screaming about how Witchblood didn't need to be in VR. Not only is it not first person, it's a side-scroller. How dare they! The nerve of these developers! I can tell you the removal of the Canadian law against challenging someone to a duel came along just in time. I demand satisfaction. And after playing Witchblood, I can safely say I am satisfied. Witchblood is a side-scrolling, platforming Metroidvania game from Hidden Path Entertainment. You may remember them from such non-first-person VR games as Defense Grid 2 VR Edition or the upcoming Brass Tactics, releasing in October. These guys seem to be using their touch controllers to give a virtual middle finger to anyone who says that VR has to be first-person in order to be good. I haven't played Defense Grid 2, but after playing Witchblood, I'm going to check it out. And they have solidly placed themselves on the list of developers who I will automatically check out anything they release. Unless, of course, Witchblood turns out to be a fluke and the rest of their games are garbage. Time will tell. The thing about Witchblood is, it's an addictive game in its own right. It would have been good even if it weren't in VR, but it is, and I'm firmly in the camp that VR makes all game types better. That doesn't mean that you can just slap VR into your game and it will be better, but that there is no genre I can think of, except maybe text-based adventure games, that isn't improved if VR implementation is done correctly. I'll admit that I downloaded Witchblood initially based on the cover art. That font was so pretty and the art style was so nice that it had to be a good game. Then when I loaded it up and was looking at the diorama scene placed inside a box that was inset in a grey wall, and that self-same grey wall wrapped around me a certain distance but then just ended, like they didn't expect me to turn my head that far, I was a bit put off. Maybe this won't be as good as the cover art made it out to be, I said to myself. Could they have thought of something better to do with the surroundings? Well, as the good book says, judge not lest you miss out on a very good video game. I'm paraphrasing to suit my needs here. It turns out that the wall is not just a wall. It becomes a map of the places you visited, and it shows the path you took through those rooms, as well as save points, power-ups, and life bonuses that you found while you were there, which can be quite helpful, as the map on the start screen is unfortunately too small to read on the Gear VR version, which is where I'm spending most of my time with this game, though I have played the Rift version as well, and they are nearly equals. The Rift version benefits greatly from positional tracking, because you can zoom right in on the action, and probably on that tiny map on the start screen. As with all Metroidvania-style games, there is a lot of backtracking and times when you just don't know what you're supposed to be doing, or maybe you do know what you're supposed to be doing, but you don't know how to do it. Because of this, I find that I wind up memorizing large portions of the map anyway and not really needing the map after some time. Though, maybe if I used it more, that wouldn't happen. But who has time for that? Not me, that's who doesn't. But even if you're not really using it, it's still pretty cool to know that it's populating itself as you move through the level, and it adds a dash of color to an otherwise bland scene. The story in Witchblood is that you are Clara Pathamore, a witch who doesn't know she's a witch. Her parents are dead and she's sent to Hogwarts. No, sorry, wrong story. Her parents are dead, or at least her dad is. If they told me what happened to her mother, I've forgotten. But it didn't start that way. You begin the game by watching her father's brutal murder at the hands of zealots who have a zeal for murder and hats with buckles on them. You're hiding in the basement while all of this is going down, and then a book, presumably a magic one, teleports you to a forest where there is a stick floating nearby. Having just overheard the murder of your father, you decide to grab the stick and set off on a suicide mission, which is thwarted when your latent magical abilities begin to manifest themselves and you realize you can kill stuff. Before long, you've doffed your dress and suited up in men's clothing more suitable for the beatdown you're planning to give literally every townsperson you come across. But we're getting ahead of ourselves because you don't meet them for a while. As you make your way through the forest, you find that every creature in it wants you dead. Rather than taking it as a sign that you are infested with pure evil such that the universe is trying to rid itself of you, you decide that they are all wrong, you alone are right, and therefore they must all die. You must kill them all to prove that you are not evil. Frogs, wolves, birds, doesn't matter. They all have to die. There are werewolves and zombies too. To be fair, they all attack you on sight, and so you can argue that they deserve the swift death that you deliver to them. Save points are statues, and every time you pass one, the ghost of your father comes out. This is how the game lets you know that your progress has been saved. The game will save every time you pass one after you've entered a room. So if you leave a room, and after disposing of all life in the next room you have sustained some injuries, you can return to the save point where your life and magic will be refilled and the game saved again. The first time you pass each save point, she will say something to her dad like, "Magic is real? Did you know about it?" I understand how that could be alarming, but there's a lot more to be alarmed about, like, who built these underground caverns? They're completely nonsensical, dangerous, and impractical. What purpose do they serve, and how come I've never noticed them before? Or, we seem to be in the midst of a zombie apocalypse. They're everywhere, and no one is doing anything about it. We should form a committee, and perhaps a task force. Or maybe, holy crap, a ghost! I've just suffered a pretty severe trauma, and though I'm certain I just saw the ghost of my father, I'm pretty sure that's impossible, and I should seek help. The problem is, either everyone really is trying to kill her, or she's just crazy and thinks they are. Either way, there's only one solution: death. Death to all living. Skill upgrades are awarded when you pass by shrines to expired warriors who left their skills behind somehow. Not sure why she needs them or thinks they will help, since they clearly died doing what she is doing, and that more successfully than they, but it makes the game more fun, so we'll let it slide. Actually, she only upgrades her attacks that way. She upgrades magic by either reading a book or killing another magic user and stealing their power. They had it coming though. Everything about this game is somewhere between good and awesome. The graphics are great for Gear VR and good for Rift. Sound is quite well done, especially the voice acting. Animations are smooth and the fighting is almost always satisfying, except when I die, and then it's BS. I've come across a few glitches, but they've always been helpful, which is nice. One had me die, but then respawn in the same spot where I died with 3 hearts, and the other allowed me to access areas I'm pretty sure I wasn't supposed to be able to access yet. In both cases, I say, leave well enough alone. Powering up your character is one of my favorite things to do in games. I love huge skill trees that are regularly upgraded, or games that make new weapons a fairly regular occurrence. New weapons come about at decently spaced intervals here, and power upgrades come along pretty regularly, like every 10 or 20 minutes of playtime I'd wager, though I haven't actually timed it, so don't quote me on that. Or if you do, quote the part where I'm admitting that I don't know for sure. The story is kind of cool, but it's really wondering what the next spell will be, or how quickly I'll be able to dispose of those once powerful creatures once I get my attack upgrades, or what's in that new area I can get to now that I've just powered up my jumping abilities that keeps me going. I play this game on easy, and there are parts where it's still pretty tough. If I didn't know that there was a power upgrade of some sort coming shortly, I probably would give up on those parts. As a rule, I hate boss fights. The boss fights in Witchblood have a very old school feel to them, as well they should given the type of game it is. I don't do well with uncertainty, so when you're locked in a room with a powerful creature and beating it depends on figuring out a pattern and then how to use that pattern against it, I get anxious. I'm not sure why, as the patterns are usually pretty obvious after a few seconds, but it's just the way I'm wired. This is true here as well, so if you love to find the pattern in bosses that are still kinda tough even once you know what the pattern is, then you'll probably get a kick out of these bosses. I would just as soon skip them altogether, but no one asked me, so here we are. If you hang out around the website or this channel, you'll probably notice I only seem to review games if I like them. There are so many games released that there is no way for me to review them all on my own, so I do tend to choose the ones that I actually enjoy playing to review. By that simple fact, you can be pretty sure that seeing a review for Witchblood on Dads and Dragons means I think you should give it a buy. Though not always, so reading and or listening to the review is still a good idea. But it won't let you know how much I like the game. Allow me to sate your curiosity. I like it a lot. A really lot. It's one of the best games I've played on Gear VR, and though there are games with better graphics and that tasty AAA polish on Rift, Witchblood is no less fun there. In fact, it could be argued that it's more fun because being able to get right into the diorama really adds to the immersion. What I'm saying is, buy Witchblood. It's a wonderful game that is going to remain at the top of the list for Gear VR for a long time, I'd wager, and while it may not top lists on Rift, it's still a lot of fun at a good price. Witchblood is $8.99 on Gear VR and on Oculus Rift and is available now. Thanks for checking out the first video from dadsofdragons.com. If you liked what you saw, please share it around the interwebs. Hit like, hit subscribe, and don't forget to get those notifications. If you want to read the review or read other reviews, head over to dadsofdragons.com.